3.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so pleased that we have this opportunity to connect. My name is Kristen Sutherland. I'm Director of Undergraduate Admissions and Recruitment, and I am so pleased that you were able to join us this morning. We know that the transition to university is very exciting, but there are a lot of questions. So we do hope that we're able to touch on those relevant questions and address your comments today through connecting with some of Dalhousie's key leaders. I'm so pleased that you'll have the opportunity to hear from representatives from our 3 Dalhousie campuses that are in the heart of Halifax, as well as our Dalhousie campus that's located in Truro, Nova Scotia. I'd like to acknowledge that our campuses are located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and at Dalhousie we are all treaty people. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Deep Sani, President and Vice Chancellor of Dalhousie University.
Thank you, Kristen, and a very good morning from Halifax to everybody. As Kristen said, that while we are gathered here virtually from locations that are spread all across Canada and beyond, we are on the ancestral lands of Mi'kmaq. So I want to begin by acknowledging that Dalhousie University is located in Mi'kma'ki, which is, as I said, ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. And we are all treaty people. Now let me begin by addressing our incoming students and supporters who have joined from all over the world and around Canada. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to Dalhousie this morning. It is morning here in Dalhousie. Let me also concede right in the beginning that because of the complexities of the life of a university president and other commitments that I have, I am not going to be able to stay for the whole of Q&A session. But I do also know that my colleagues who are much more competent than I am will be sharing many enlightening details about what to expect this fall at Dalhousie. So they will be here to answer all your questions and give you more details. However, I felt that it was very important for me to at least drop in and say hello to you and to tell you that I have no doubt that you have made an excellent decision by choosing to come to Dalhousie. These are extremely challenging times for everybody, but these are also exciting times, challenging for the obvious reasons that I will come to in a moment, but exciting because despite all the challenges we face, we live in times where the technology allows us to connect with people from around the world as we are today. There are hundreds of people listening to me, and we will be soon having a conversation across the international borders. Challenging times because in addition to all the regular anxieties that come with transitioning to a university, you all are navigating the uncertainties of a first semester that is significantly altered by COVID-19 pandemic. That is why we are doing everything we can to help you with this significant transition. As you prepare for this next stage in your journey and beginning your fall term classes online, I want to assure you that we will continue the high quality instruction and programming delivered by our outstanding faculty and staff that you all associate with Dalhousie. You know that, of course, because you chose to come to Dalhousie for that reason. You may not know that I too am relatively new to both Dalhousie and Nova Scotia, having just joined the Dalhousie community from the University of Canberra in Australia this past January. So I'm towards the end of my 7th month here at Dalhousie and in Nova Scotia. But having experienced this community and the university over the last 7 months, I am even more confident that you will find this beautiful part of the world as warm and as welcoming as I have found it. Behind me, the scene that you're looking at is the aerial shot of one of our campuses here in Halifax. Each one of our campuses is just as beautiful. And this gives you a snapshot of what you can expect when you arrive at Dalhousie. Your safety and your well-being are of the utmost importance to us here at Dalhousie. And while we are excited to welcome you here in person as soon as we are able to, in the meantime, we remain fully committed to your success at Dalhousie. I know that 2020 has been extremely challenging, but I want you to know that you have my congratulations from my heart on your achievements that have brought you to this great university. You have so much to be proud of already, and now that you are joining a university community committed to excellence and impact within and outside the classroom, you have even bigger reasons to be proud. I truly cannot wait to see you all here on the campus and see you all achieve great heights during your time at this great university. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to meet each and every one of you in person when you're on the campus. I'm a walker, I walk the campus, and I guarantee to you that once you arrive here at Dalhousie, we will have our paths crossing many times and we will meet. So again, congratulations on joining Dalhousie. Thank you for choosing Dalhousie, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sani. As Dr. Sani indicated, this academic year is unprecedented, and the transition to university will look different than it has in years previous. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Frank Harvey, Provost and Vice President Academic, to share some remarks and overview of the fall academic experience.
Thanks very much, Kristen. As Kristen pointed out, my name is Frank Harvey. I am Dalhousie's Acting Provost and Vice President Academic. Prior to taking on this role, I was the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and prior to that, the Chair of the Department of Political Science, and prior to that, a Professor of International Relations in the Department of Political Science. So unlike Dr. Sani, who's been here for 7 months, I've been here for close to about 28 years now. And as Acting Provost and Vice President Academic, I'm responsible for several things, but most importantly, I work with the deans and the vice presidents and the associate vice presidents on the suite of academic programs that we administer and deliver across all of our campuses, the Studley campus, Carleton, the Sexton campus, and of course, the agricultural campus in Truro. And most recently, one of my priorities has been working with senior leaders and deans and the VPs on our return to campus plans in the fall. So let me start by saying that we certainly understand what many of you have gone through as you were completing your high school degrees in the midst of the COVID pandemic, what your schools and what your teachers have been doing to get you through the crisis. And we understand that you and your families have all faced considerable challenges and uncertainty over the last several months. But as Dr. Sani pointed out, you've made the right choice. This is one of the most important investments you can make in your future, particularly at a time when your future seems uncertain and in many cases disorienting. And I can assure you that our faculty at Dalhousie, our staff, our academic leaders have been investing an enormous amount of time, over 4 months now, planning and preparing for the fall to make this experience as positive as possible and much less disorienting. Dalhousie is committed to providing an academic experience in the fall that remains meaningful, student-focused, and above all else, safely delivered. So let me tell you about what we've been doing to prepare for your programming. in the fall. We followed some pretty basic principles, and let me run through those principles. Principle number 1, student, faculty, and staff health and safety. That is our core priority. And we continue to collaborate very closely with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Robert Strang, and the Nova Scotia public health leaders, focusing on enhanced cleaning, physical distancing, self-isolation procedures. Principle number 2, providing both new from high school and returning students with an early and clear vision of what our fall program will look like. This is one of the reasons why Dalhousie announced back in May that we will be moving largely to online delivery in the fall. We're going to have about 1,000 students in advanced accredited programs where face-to-face is essential for licensing. So here you're talking about faculties like health and medicine and dentistry and the veterinary tech program in the Faculty of Agriculture. We're also going to be bringing back, I think, around 750, possibly up to 800 students in various residence buildings. I think that represents about 1/3 of our typical residence intake. But all other programming for the fall will be delivered online. Third principle, we wanted to ensure that our faculty members and our instructors had sufficient time to prepare for the fall terms so they could have the opportunity to deliver the highest quality academic programming through that preparation. Fourth principle, we wanted to focus on student experience and community and cohort development. And Vice Provost Ivan Joseph and his team will be walking through some of those initiatives in their presentation. And all of this has been supported with considerable university investment through Dalhousie Libraries, through academic technology services, through our Center for Learning and Teaching, and through some strategic initiative funding. So let me give you a brief list of some of the things our faculty members have been doing to prepare for delivering the best quality education in the fall. The Center for Learning and Teaching from about April to July has hosted about 25 webinars and workshops for the Dal community. About 3,800 registrations. These are profs preparing for online delivery in the fall. Those numbers don't include faculty and training sessions with academic technology services and the Dal libraries, and those don't include the one-on-one consultations that ATS experts have been delivering to various faculties and professors across campus. And we've also just completed a strategic initiative funding program that distributed close to $2 million in funding support to faculties, instructors, and students to ensure access to equipment and hardware and software that they need for online delivery. So we are working very hard to get ready for delivering an education and programming that you deserve, consistent with Dalhousie's reputation as one of the leading top-tier universities in this country. Students studying at Dalhousie also have access to unique funding supports through the provincial government. So these include the Nova Scotia University Bursary Program, the Nova Scotia Student Loan Forgiveness Program, the Nova Scotia Upfront Grant Program, and of course you can get additional information from the folks in accounting. And of course, Dalhousie is also committed to providing more specific financial aid through direct bursaries to students in need as we work through the realities of this pandemic. So we're doing a lot to make sure that you have an experience you deserve. You could expect communications over the next month or so from the university as health and safety guidelines and protocols shift. You can expect to get messages from Student Affairs and the Dal Student Union on orientation and other events and activities. And you should be expecting to get messages from your faculties on specific courses and programs. And of course, from me as co-chair of the Return to Campus Committee, updates on how things are going as we approach the fall. We know that you have a lot of questions. All of your questions are obviously important, we look forward to answering them. So right now what I'd like to do is pass it along back to Kristen, who will now introduce Dr. Ivan Joseph, the Vice Provost, Student Affairs. Thanks very much and have a wonderful semester.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Inclusiveness and connectedness is fundamental to the Dalhousie student experience. And we're proud to be an inclusive community that works to ensure that our students are welcome, comfortable, and safe. Part of that is offering a variety of opportunities to connect with other students and find resources and support services tailored to you. I'd like to introduce to you this morning Dr. Ivan Joseph, Vice Provost Student Affairs, and he'll give some key updates related to fall 2020. Over to you, Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Kristen, and please call me Ivan, folks on the other end when you're addressing your questions. It's been a long morning of lots of speeches, so I'm going to try not to give you a speech. Let me first tell you what a vice provost does, because all the students and parents want to know what is exactly that role. And so my responsibility is really for the activities and the initiatives that complement the academic experience, whether that's what's happening in the residence halls, academic accommodations, the International Center, health and wellness, the tutoring center, all those sorts of things that really help make up the student experience outside of the classroom. You've heard it both from our president and our provost, how concerned we are to make sure that this fall that everybody is safe and healthy, and we'll follow and we'll work with the public health officials and the local governing officials, as well as our own campus health and safety team, to make sure that remains the utmost priority. In choosing to come to Nova Scotia this fall, I think you made a great choice. In fact, I think we have a record number of graduate and undergraduate students enrolled at Dal this year. So many people like yourselves are saying, I'm not putting my life on hold, I'm still moving forward. And I think that's a great day, a great opportunity for us to all recognize that we're all in this together, and we're going to try our best to get through it. Some of the details that I think that are really important. Everybody's asking, when do we get here in the fall, and what does that look like? What's our move-in date? So the first thing is, if you are from outside of the Atlantic region, move-in date is August 22nd. And we've picked that date because it allows you to come in here and self-isolate. And so you will move in here, you will be put into our self-isolation building, and we can speak to more of those details. And you know, during that time, you can't get out into the community. You have to stay in your room. We want to keep Nova Scotia and our fellow students safe. If you're not coming in, you decide, you know what, I don't want to stay on the campus to self-isolate. I have another place. I'm going to stay in a hotel, or I can. I have an auntie or an uncle here that I'm going to self-isolate. Just let us know and keep us updated on that process. But everybody coming to Nova Scotia, it's right now mandatory that everybody does a 14-day quarantining period. And again, this is the news that we know today. Recognize that all this may change in the coming days. If you are from the Atlantic region, or you've done your August 22nd isolation time period, your regular move-in, where you'll move into your room for the year if you're a residence hall student, is from September 2nd to the 5th. Pay attention to your Dal email, because we have staggered those dates to ensure that not so many folks are showing up and everybody's trying to use the elevator at the same time or coming into the stairs. We've been really intentional in trying to make sure that when we do move in, it's organized, it's logical, and it's a safe practice for all. And again, we will work with you to make sure that you have those news. If you have any questions about that, again, feel free to reach out to our residence life staff as well as our housing office, and they'll help get you there. Folks that are coming into residence, or even folks that are living off campus, they're saying, well, what does the fall look like? Should I come to campus? Will there be face-to-face programming? Am I just going to be looking, is it all virtual? And the answer to that is it's going to be a combination. We're allowed right now on campus to have groups of up to 50 students gather. And so we're working with the Dalhousie Student Union as well as our own student life team to deliver that programming in a way that allows those groups of 50 to gather, to have those different activities happening in a way that will still promote what we think about as means of connecting, creating a sense of belonging, making new friendships, part of what everybody goes away to university to have happen. While that's happening physically for those students that are here on campus or living in the town of Halifax, we've also launched a program that started last week called Together at Dal. Together at Dal is a virtual program that's meant to connect students to each other as well as to their faculties. It is a great program, and hopefully you've seen it on our website where you register. You're placed in a group of 20, a small cohort of 20. in connection with your faculty. So if you're in the Faculty of Science, you got 20 students who are all like you from all over the world. You have an upper class mentor who's a senior that's also connected to the faculty. And in that virtual classroom or that virtual group, you're learning such things as, how do I work a syllabus? How does the new library work? How do I make friends? How do I study for an online class? I'm homesick. You know what? I'm in science, but I'm really interested in the study of bugs. Is there anybody else that can do that? That is a way that we will encourage you to connect in this virtual world. If you haven't had a chance to sign up for Together at Dal, I would tell you to do that right away, because that's one of the for sure ways that we're doing that. Don't mind me, that's just my dog here. We've also got orientation this fall that's happening. And again, orientation will be happening both physically and virtually. There's lots of ways to get involved and still stay connected here on campus. Don't think that because you're studying from your home, whether it be in India or Toronto or Shanghai, that you're not going to have the university experience. We know it's going to be different, that is guaranteed, but we will still try our best to connect you in meaningful ways that sponsor and promote friendships. The most important thing you can do right now is to reach out and connect through many of our platforms, whether that be through our Facebook platform, our Together at Dal platform, or our Twitter through Dal Student Life. We'll find ways to connect. Last and certainly not least, the information that we're giving you is what we know today. It's going to change, guarantee. It's changed since we started this process in May, so please stay tuned. While we work with the public health officials and our own safety officers to make sure we're ensuring that our programs are safe, we're also going to need the input and feedback from our students and our campus community. Don't hesitate to reach out and allow us opportunities to adjust our programming to react to the needs to make sure that this student experience, although different, is still a very good one. That's enough for me about all the questions. I want to kick it back to Kristen, and I look forward to answering any of the questions that you have. If we don't have the exact answers today, we commit to getting them back to you. All right, Kristen, over to you.
Thank you, Ivan. I did see that there was so many comments pertaining to where students were joining us from around the world, but also across the province in Nova Scotia. So thank you so much for sharing where you were tuning in from. It was great to see that array of locations. I do see here that there are some published questions, and I will, my intention is to read the question aloud and then direct it towards our team member, our panelists that will be the best suited to answer those questions. And the first question was submitted by an anonymous poster. Has there been any indication of whether the winter semester will be in person? If not, when should we expect to know? There has been no formal announcement from Dalhousie University pertaining to winter semester, but I would turn to Dr. Frank Harvey to ask when decisions pertaining to the academic semester would be determined.
Thank you, Kristen. Great question. It's an issue and a question that the Return to Campus Committee is focusing on right now. We've just completed the planning for phase 1, which was the July-August phase. We're well through the planning for the fall term, which is anything between, say, the end of August towards the end of the first term. And we are starting to plan for what winter term will look like, in keeping with the principles of providing students with sufficient advance notice and providing faculty members with sufficient advance notice to begin preparing. We should be making the decision on winter very soon. And so that notice and that communication will go out as soon as we've come to the conclusion of what winter term would look like. My suspicion, based on social distance protocols and the trend lines with respect to those guidelines, is that the winter term will be mixed deliveries. So very large classes, it's possible that those will not be delivered online, but other classes will be. So we'll have both online and face-to-face, and we'll be working closely with deans to find out what suite of classes would fit into one or the other category. And that's the best I can do at this point, because to be honest, nobody really knows what the pattern of the pandemic trends will look like as we approach the winter term. Thanks very much for your question.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Everything is ever evolving pertaining to our COVID-19 preparation. So thank you for providing that insight from where we stand today. I'd like to address another question that I see has been published, and I'd like to hand this over to Cynthia Murphy, Director of Student Experience, who also oversees the International Center. And the question is, what will the students who are facing issues with visa and/or study permits do if they get a place in residence and don't know whether the visas can arrive on time? And as with the decisions being made at Dalhousie University, the decisions that the Canadian government is making pertaining to travel restrictions and immigration are also ever evolving. So I'll hand that over to you, Cynthia, to address the student's question.
Great, thank you, Kristen. Yes, the requirements from IRCC around student visas and study permits are changing all the time. Our residence office team is prepared to offer residence rooms later in the semester if students arrive, and to and acknowledging that they may not arrive before October or even later, does allow for late arrival. Heather Sutherland, our Assistant Vice President in Ancillary Services, has the exact information on those late arrivals. But I do want to stress that IRCC is changing its requirements and its news all the time, with a recent update just coming yesterday. So we're still processing that piece as well. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you for providing that insight. We have a question here from a student coming from Ontario, and I'll hand this one over to Heather Sutherland, Assistant Vice President, Ancillary Services, and it's pertaining to if the student drives down from Toronto without stopping anywhere, just a straight drive, so that 18-hour trek, can they do the 2-week quarantine at home? Heather, can I hand that over to you, please?
Thank you very much, Kristen. We are asking all students to self-isolate for the 2 weeks in Nova Scotia, staying in residence or staying with a family member, hotel or cottage. I have to admit, someone has not asked that question to me before, so I will double check that with our health and safety office to get clarification for that. But as it stands right now, we've been directed by health and safety that you do need to self-isolate for 14 days within Nova Scotia. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you for addressing that. There is another question pertaining to accommodations, so I will ask you again. For students that are planning to join Dalhousie's campus in January, planning to come in January, when is the last day that they could apply for accommodation?
Thank you, Kristen. I would encourage students to submit a residence application as soon as possible if you have not already done so. Once we understand what the winter term will look like, we will be back in touch with all students who have active residence applications on file with us. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you. We know that residence is much more than a bed and a desk and a Wi-Fi connection for students coming to campus. And although those things are important, the residence community is a really supportive place that brings students together to provide a secure space for them living away from home for the first time. So thank you really for giving that context. I have a question now that I'll direct towards Rebecca Kohler, Associate Director, Student Awards and Financial Aid. And the question reads that the student's finals grades has come in and he is or she is applying from India. To date, they have not received a scholarship. Are they able to receive one now? Rebecca?
Hi there. Thank you, Kristen. Thanks for your question. We at Dalhousie do have an entrance award program, and that program did have a deadline of March 1st. So if the student applied by March 1st, but didn't receive an award based on that application, but has since received higher grades on their final report, we'd be happy to relook at them for a potential entrance award. If a student didn't apply by the deadline, unfortunately, they aren't able to be considered for our entrance award program. However, they will be in the position to be considered for our in-course program after they have completed their first year. I'll also mention that we have a bursary program, our undergraduate bursary program, which is based on financial need that students can also apply for when they start their studies in the fall. And more information can be found on both those programs at our dal.ca/financial aid. Back
Thank
to you,
Rebecca. I would just like to reiterate that there has been a significant investment in financial aid and awards for students for the next academic intake. So please do connect online and take a look at those bursary opportunities that are available. Whether or not you've already received a bursary or a scholarship, I would continue to encourage you to look for those funding opportunities as you pursue your academic career at Dalhousie. I'm going to go to the next question. And there are several questions pertaining to tuition fees and when they would typically be posted online. I am not sure who among our team is the best, Rebecca is the best suited to answer that question, so I will hand that back directly to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Kristen, very much. Yes, we are in the process of finalizing our fees for the fall semester. And so currently there are estimates for the fall semester which are available online at dal.ca/moneymatters. So students can go and click on that tuition fee schedule to understand an estimate of their fees. We also have a fee calculator online that students can use to get an estimate. I'll actually mention we're in the process of creating an updated and improved fee calculator that will allow students to estimate very specific and detailed estimates based on choices like residence and the number of courses that they plan to take. So that will be launched very shortly within the next few weeks. So that's something that students can use to estimate. But we will be posting actual fees online within the next short period of time. So I think that there is hope within a week or two that those will be posted. And if students are already registered, they'll be able to go into their record in Dal Online and actually see their fees posted. So that will be quite soon. And Kristen, I'll just speak to what you mentioned earlier with regards to some of the investment that we've made in supporting students more broadly, sort of jumping off on your comments there. And I do want to just to also jump off of what Dr. Harvey mentioned earlier, that a university education is a significant financial investment in your future. And every student coming to Dalhousie is unique, which we recognize, and so are each of your financial circumstances. So we have a student awards and financial aid team that can help you explore your financial options and develop strategies and skills to help create a financial plan that works for you through your Dalhousie career and beyond. And just to provide a few more details as to what Kristen had mentioned, this year we're providing more financial aid than ever before, recognizing that the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the financial means of many of our students and their supporters has been significant. So we are increasing our bursary funding this year for domestic and international undergraduate students to help us allow to better assist in light of some of those challenges. And we anticipate there will be an increase in some of the number of students who are finding themselves in financial need. So that support will be offered through our undergraduate bursary program, which eligible students in financial need can apply for every term that they're registered at Dalhousie. That application will be available online in Dal Online as of mid-August. So for more information and specific dates as to when you can apply for that support, please do visit dal.ca/financial aid, and we'll have updates in early August with more information. And I'll mention one more thing while I have the mic, that our awards and financial aid team also administers and advises our entrance award and in-course scholarship program, as well as advises on external scholarship options, government and private student loans. And our team understands that students are concerned about managing their finances successfully over the course of their degree, and encourage you to explore tools and resources that we have online. at the website that we mentioned, as well as reach out to us directly to talk to us and seek advice around their personal circumstances and finances. So we've got a team that's eager to connect with you as you're exploring some of those options and have questions about your next steps. So thanks, Kristen.
There are several questions that have been published pertaining to residents move-in. I'd like to ask Jeff Wilson, the Director of Residence Life here on our Halifax campus, if he could speak generally and more specifically about the isolation period, food services that will be provided during the isolation period, and whether or not students will be able to move into residence directly after the 2-week period of isolation is over, or will they need to wait until that September 2nd to 5th timeframe? So, Jeff, if you could provide some details pertaining to the move into residence, that would be excellent.
Thanks, Kristen. So we are opening one of our residence buildings on August 22nd to allow people to move in for self-isolation. That gives them 14 days. It takes them up to September 4th, 5th. At that point, they will be allowed to move to their permanent fall residence room directly from self-isolation. While students are in self-isolation, their food requirements are actually their own responsibility. So they'll be able to order food, order groceries to be delivered to the residence building, and then we will take them from what will be the delivery area, the front door, and bring it to their residence room so they can remain in their isolation room and gather their food. There'll be a time period where that's available. It'll be from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Where we will be doing food running from the deliveries to the rooms. The move-in period from September 2nd to 5th, everyone that's in self-isolation will be assigned a time that works for them when their 14 days are complete. Everyone else who doesn't require self-isolation will be assigned their time between September 2nd and September 5th, where they can go directly into their permanent room. If someone is being joined by a parent or a guardian or a family member or a friend to help them move in, they are required to self-isolate as well, and they will not be able to do that in residence. So your supporter may be able to move you into self-isolation, but they may not be able to move you into your final room if they're not staying for the full 14 days. If you have supporters coming with you and you don't require self-isolation, one person will be able to enter the building with you to bring stuff up to your room. I think that about covers most of the questions that you asked, Kristen. I'll be here for the rest of the session if there are more questions as well. So back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Jeff. I know that move-in dates and the process will look a lot different this year, so I can appreciate that students and supporters have those really tangible questions. Cynthia, there is a series of questions here that have been published pertaining to when international students or non-Canadian students would be allowed to travel to Halifax, and that has been asked several times in different reiterations here in question. So perhaps you can give us an overview of that area of concern for students.
Sure, thank you, Kristen. And I'll start off by saying that process is subject to the rules and requirements of the federal government, and that may change all the time. So what you're hearing is valid as of today. The biggest advice I can give you, if you're an international student who is planning to travel to Canada to participate in your studies here at Dalhousie, please reach out to the International Centre before you confirm your travel plans to ensure that you have all of the documentation that you need to come into the country. And that documentation will include a very detailed 14-day quarantine plan. It will include documentation from the university to support your need to be in Canada and other documents as well. So the easiest way to reach us is via our website, which is attached to dal.ca/international, or by email at international.centre@dal.ca. Just briefly, whether you're allowed to cross the border, you'll need an exemption to do that. And that exemption is dependent on your study permit and your visa, when it was issued, and whether you have a letter of approval if you don't have the visa. And I'm getting into complicated details here, so that's why I stress again that it's really important that you connect with us before you make any plans. The information on the federal government website is incredibly complex and detailed, and we can help you work through that as well. We look forward to welcoming you in Halifax when you're able to travel. And like I say, right now, some international students are exempt from the regulations, but that depends on when your study permit and visa were issued. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I know that's an ever-evolving situation as well. Krista Cross is with us today. She's the Director of Operations for Student Health and Wellness. And the next question I will direct to you, Krista. This comes from Beverly in Ottawa. What is the plan for handling any possible COVID illness in the residence? Is there a residence or location that's been designated for students who are ill? And is there testing capacity for COVID-19 on campus?
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everyone, and thanks for your question. The first thing I'll address there would be with regard to the testing capacity on campus. And while we don't test on campus directly, our doctors and nurses here in Halifax and on the AC campus have access to the direct referral to testing centers. And also we have a phone number here in Nova Scotia, 811, that will connect you to screening and possible testing as well, if necessary. And we've been working with our campus partners, including residents, health and safety, facilities management, to make sure that we have the appropriate residence protocols in place for students who need to self-isolate, and making sure that they have the support that they need in terms of health check-ins, meal delivery service, cleaning supplies, all the different things that we would need to make sure that you're kept safe. And our medical director is in contact with public health regularly to make sure that we are following protocols and prioritizing the health and safety of all of our students. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you. Health and safety is a key concern for all students and staff at Dalhousie University, so thank you for that question. Ivan, there are several questions here pertaining to what the Dalhousie experience might look like if the COVID situation improves. And while we would not be returning to in-person classes within the fall term, would you be able to address the question as to when students who aren't living in residence may be able to access services on campus? And if the COVID situation gets better throughout the fall semester, will some of the restrictions be lifted?
Yes, great question. And, you know, we're working with the Return to Campus Committee to make sure that we can answer this the best we can. So let me first preface this by saying, by the time you look at all the students that we have on residence and the students that are in our medical school and some of our practicum courses, dentistry, etc., we have between our campuses about 2,300 students that are here between our Halifax campus and Truro and some of the programs that we're running there. And so there is a combination of both virtual things happening and on-campus face-to-face delivery. As well, we're still working that out. Some of that face-to-face delivery might be by appointment only, as in our health and wellness offices. It might be in limited hours only, as in some of our advising and our international center advising pieces, or our writing center or academic accommodations. But we will continue to monitor the situation and collaborate with public health officials as well as our health and safety. We want to be able to adjust it, but I think it's easier for the university to just be a little safety cautious first before we adjust or loosen those reins. So a perfect example is how we're approaching residence halls. We're using kind of a red light, yellow light, green light situation. So when students get here, you know, the visitation is going to be fairly limited, just to make sure that everything is good. We've just brought a whole bunch of people into the community of Halifax. We have a responsibility. As we see that things look good, that there's no cases, there's nothing that's gone awry, then it goes to yellow light. And I'll say, you know, we're going to open up visitation so that we can have visitation during certain time periods. And then eventually it'll be green light where there are no restrictions. It's important to note that the public health has asked the university to put in place our protocols to make sure that not only do we hold ourselves as a university accountable, that we hold our students accountable to make sure that they're keeping the community safe. And that's not this heavy stick or a threat. It's more of, listen, we have a collective responsibility to be good citizens here. And that's part of our educational mandate here at Dal is to make sure that the people we put into the community are good citizens. That's a long answer, but here in short, yes, of course, we will look to adjust the programming as more information reveals itself. And I hope sooner than later that we can do that and make the experience as normal as we can for all our community. Over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Ivan. I appreciate that insight as to what the considerations are as we modify the current restrictions on campus. I'd like to direct several questions back to Jeff Wilson, Director of Residence Life. There are many specific questions pertaining to move-in and residence setups, asking if there is a fridge available in isolation rooms, whether there will be transportation or collection at the Halifax airport for those coming from outside of, flying into Halifax airport, and how will it be handled to ensure students have completed that 14-day self-isolation? Perhaps we can start with those questions, Jeff, and then I'll hand some more over to you.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. The first question that I can remember off the top of my head that you asked is about transportation from the airport. It's a conversation that I've been a part of, but at this time, there will not be provided Dalhousie transportation from the airport. We have always tried to help in the past. I know some international students have been picked up by buses in the past and brought to campus. There is public transit from the airport to downtown Halifax, which brings you to our Halifax campuses. Halifax Transit currently is asking all people to wear masks when they are traveling on transit. It's a low cost. I think it's just $4 to get from the airport all the way to campus. Taxis, limos, all of those things are available at our Halifax airport as well that can take you to our Halifax campuses, but we are not at this time providing transportation. As far as fridges in self-isolation rooms, our residence rooms do not come with fridges. If a student brings one with them, they can move it into their isolation room and then bring it from their isolation room to their fall permanent residence room. They're also able to order and purchase fridges to have them delivered. They can purchase them from the bookstore on campus, or they can purchase from anywhere they would like to and have it delivered. And then the final question was about, I am blanking, Kristen. I'm going to throw it back to you and you can remind me what it is.
Thanks, Jeff. It would just be that piece pertaining to how would we ensure students have completed that self quarantine for 14 days, and then to ensure the safety and security of all of those in residence.
Thanks, Kristen. I knew I was going to forget one. So when the best way that we can ensure that someone has completed the 14-day isolation is if they stay with us in residence. Other than that, when people move in and we know that they are from outside the Atlantic bubble, or however big our bubble is at the time of move-in day, we're going to ask them. We're going to ask them whether they completed isolation. We're going to ask if they can prove in some way that they've completed isolation. That would be really helpful. So if they're staying at a hotel or an Airbnb, or they've flown in or traveled in on whatever day it would be, if they can provide some kind of documentation, that would be super helpful for us to ensure that we are trying to keep our communities safe. Otherwise, at the end of it, we're just going to have to accept people's word that they've done the right thing, and that the importance to our community, as Dr. Harvey said, there's going to be up to 800 people staying in residence, maybe a bit more than that, and everyone is going to have to take care of each other. It's really important that they follow the guidelines of public health in Nova Scotia, public health in Canada, so that we do not have to worry about COVID in residence. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that overview on those specific questions. I have some additional questions pertaining to residents, but I think I'll direct these towards the Assistant Vice President, Ancillary Services, Heather Sutherland. Heather, can you provide some insight as to what would be the estimated fee for quarantining in residence, and what will be the restrictions pertaining to students being allowed to leave campus for long weekends, Thanksgiving, etc.?
Thanks, Kristen. Great questions. The fee for students coming to us self-isolate is, if they stay with us for 14 days, it's $150. If the students are not able to exactly arrive on August the 22nd, it may be prorated because residence fees do start on September the 5th, and so we would make sure that we prorated the fee. And students, once they have self-isolated, again, we will be going by the public health rules. And so if, depending on what Public Health Nova Scotia says, if there is the Canadian bubble, for example, at that time, then there won't be any restrictions, as far as I know, for students who would like to go home for Thanksgiving or for the fall break. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Heather. The next question that I see here in the published Q&A section, I'll direct towards Rebecca Kohler, Associate Director of Student Awards and Financial Aid. And this is an anonymous question that states, if I delay starting at Dalhousie until January 2021, so delay by 1 semester, would bursaries already awarded to this student still be honored?
Thanks, Kristen. That's a great question. So if students have deferred their admission from the fall to the winter term, but have been offered a bursary or a entrance scholarship, you can also request that they be deferred to the winter term as well. Please just contact our office at awards@dal.ca, and we can take a look at what bursaries and what awards you have received. So we do review those requests for awards deferral on a case-by-case basis. There are some awards that we can defer, and then others that we aren't able to defer. But we will review your situation and let you know as quickly as possible what we'll be able to offer you for the winter term.
Thanks, Rebecca. The next questions I will direct back towards Heather Sutherland, who is our Assistant Vice President, Ancillary Services. Heather, these questions are pertaining to the winter term. So students who may be applying for residence for the winter term or have deferred their start in residence until the winter term. Can you give some details around when those room assignments may be made?
Thanks, Kristen. We will be reaching back out to the students who have active residence applications once the university has announced what the winter term will look like. And we will be asking students what their wishes are at that time, and then we will do our best to meet their wishes and to get that information out to them in a timely basis. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you. So if you've applied for winter residence or you've deferred your residence application for the winter semester, stay tuned. There'll be information coming your way shortly. Cynthia, as Director of Student Experience, can you advise, give more information about orientation programming and perhaps if there'll be on-campus orientation for this fall 2020?
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, orientation will be a combination of online and in-person events. The online events will be starting on August 17th for the Halifax campus and August 10th for the Truro campus. We're concerned about everyone having access to all events. So our commitment for the on-campus events is wherever possible to have them live streamed so that students who are not on campus are able to participate as well. And one of those will be our large welcome session where we'll pay attention to the restriction of 50 participants per session at various outdoor sites around all our campuses. And we'll do that through live streaming and lots of technology that should make it a very interesting event. All incoming students will be registered in the Brightspace orientation course, and that'll start happening next week. There are many sessions being offered, some for specific student groups, such as those offered by ABLE at Dow, the Black Student Advising Center, the Indigenous Student Center, or the International Center. And some of those you need to register for. Most you're able to participate simply by going to the Brightspace course. So please watch your Dal email for lots of information about what's to come with orientation. And back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Cynthia. I know that programming will look different this fall, but it will still be certainly a strong way to engage with other members of the incoming Dalhousie class. There is a question here pertaining to several questions pertaining to textbooks and ebooks and ordering from the bookstore. Jeff, as you had just indicated that you were aware of ordering fridges from the bookstore, perhaps I'll hand that back to you as Director of Residence Life if you have any details around bookstore ordering or textbooks.
Thanks, Kristen. This question is probably best to go to Heather, who oversees the bookstore, but I can help a little bit. We are allowing students to order books, obviously, and in the past we have delivered them directly to their rooms, but I will pass it to Heather and set her up for this one.
Thanks, Jeff. Right now, we've made the announcement that we are having books and res, and so I would encourage all of you to go to the bookstore website, and you can order your textbooks, Dal clothing, any sundry items that you would like to have delivered to your room. You can pre-order that, and you can. It'll be there waiting for you when you actually check into your room. It's going to be all delivered there for you, so you don't have to worry about collecting it. We also are doing a regular live remote store, and so we are delivering things through the web orders on a regular basis. In case you'd like to get a head start and you would like to have a new Dal hoodie, you can order that online to look at that. And we're offering curbside pickup this year as well, whether you're in a car or you need to do a walkthrough. We're offering curbside pickup for students who would like to purchase things from the bookstore. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you for that that specificity around how to connect and get those books. So I know that academic courses will be announcing their textbook list shortly, so please stay tuned, students, and certainly visit the online bookstore for Dalhousie swag along with your textbooks. I think what I'll do is address 2 to 3 more questions that are here published through the chat, and then I will turn it back over to end today's session with Dr. Ivan Joseph. But I do see that there are repetition in questions, and we want to ensure that we are addressing your important concerns. So I'll just connect with 2 more questions and then hand that over back to Dr. Joseph. And many of these questions that have been asked have been answered in different formats pertaining to self-isolations and parents helping with move-in. So I would just say that Residence Life is going to provide a variety of updates to you pertaining to that piece. And Jeff and Heather have both provided some specifics today. But if you do have questions, you can always refer back to their teams and address your specific questions if they weren't connected today. And one of the questions that people have asked here, Heather, pertaining to residence is about residence fees. So for students that are international students coming to Canada, if their ability to travel to Canada is delayed due to travel restrictions or study permit delays, or they'll be studying the fall semester in their home country, what would be the situation pertaining to residence fees?
Thanks, Kristen. I would encourage everybody to keep in close contact with the residence office, and just to let us know what your plans are. If your visa is delayed, that you still would like to come, we can be your best friends in meeting your needs. And the best thing that I would encourage you to do is just to keep in regular contact with us or keep us appraised of your situation so that we can ensure that we service you the best way. Thanks, Kristen.
And thank you, Heather. That's really integral, I think, in all of these conversations, is that we are here to assist you. And, you know, our key piece is that we want to be transparent and communicative through this process, as this fall will look different than previous academic intakes. So I'll take this final question here, and then it is from Ethan. So Ethan, your question is, I was told that you could possibly get a job on campus, and what is available? Will that be a possibility this fall? I'm going to hand this over to Cynthia Murphy, Director of Student Experience, to see if she can address this important question.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. That's a great question. There are jobs available on campus, and the best way to find those is through My Career, the website that's attached to the Bissett Career Center. What's important to know too is that there are student employment opportunities for students who are unable to come to Halifax. So we have several remote working student jobs as well across many parts of the campus, not just in student affairs, but throughout Dalhousie. So like I say, the best way to find those opportunities is through My Career. If you have specific questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I can direct your question in the right way. But there are certainly student employment opportunities. And thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. I fibbed a little bit. I'm going to ask one more question, so we're not off the hook entirely. Krista, there's a few questions coming in pertaining to the international health plan for students, and I'm not sure if perhaps you can talk about that, how student health and wellness will be delivered through the fall semester, and then if there's specificity around questions that should be addressed to the International Center, we will loop Cynthia in, but we'll begin with you, Krista.
Thanks for that, Kristen. In terms of the health insurance plan, that health insurance plan is administered through the DSU, through the Dalhousie Students Union. And for those students, I think I saw a couple of questions in there about students who would not be coming into Canada. So one thing to keep in mind is that if you go to the DSU website, dsu.ca, and you click on health plan, you'll see that there are options there to opt out of the health plan. So you can just follow along with that process using the links that are available there. We will still be able to deliver health and wellness services as we normally would, although things would look just a little bit different. So in terms of how you access and whether it's on the phone or in person, but there still will certainly be health and wellness supports available for you, whether that's nursing appointments, doctor's appointments, appointments with our social worker, our counselors. We still offer mental health tools, so there are different programs that are offered online. There's a full suite of programs there to support you with your health and wellness needs. It just may look a little bit different in terms of how we deliver that to you. For anything more detailed than that, if you can go to our website at dal.ca/student health, and we'll include all of our information there, as well as some additional FAQs that might be able to help you out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Krista, for that comprehensive response. I do hope that that helps to address some concerns that we saw, some questions coming in. This has been a very lively question and answer period, and I really appreciate you taking the time to send your questions to our attention. We do know that there is continues to be updated information coming in, and that will inform how our fall semester plays out. I would like to hand it over to Dr. Ivan Joseph for some closing remarks today.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you, folks. Thank you all for tuning in today. While I'm Vice Provost Student Affairs, my primary role before my professional role is I'm a parent, and I happen to have 3 kids in university, and my son is just starting this fall, and so I'm feeling and seeing both sides, the proud parent and then the uncertainty as well as the excitement. And my son says one thing that is really relevant is that, you know, Dad, make sure you you pass on and communicate hope. We want to know that this is still going to be a great experience, and I can tell you that it is going to be a great experience because you have control of that. Your university experience is what you make of it, how you choose to engage, how you choose to connect, what opportunities you choose to pursue. All the programming will still be there. It'll be delivered in a different format, but it will still be there for you to access. While you'll have lots of questions, never fear that you can't reach out to anybody on this call, on the website, check it out, and then reach out to us. I need clarification. How does this work? Our job and our role as student affairs is to service our students. We are committed to ensuring that your academic success is of high quality and our priority, but not just that you get here and you get your degree, but when you come here, you thrive. This is one semester during your entire experience here at Dal. Don't lose sight of that. And, you know, stay well, folks, until we meet again. We look forward to connecting. Kristen, back to you.
Thank you, Ivan. As Ivan indicated, this is just one piece of the conversation that Dalhousie wants to have with you as you transition in this fall. The contact details for our panelists can be found at dal.ca, so please do continue the conversation after today. And please do stay tuned to your Dalhousie email as well as to our social media channels to ensure that you receive all the updated information as it becomes available. We are so very grateful that you took time out of your busy days from around the world and across the province to join us today. And I hope that this was useful for you and that you have some, that you're excited about joining us this September. Thank you for joining the Dalhousie Community update today, and we look forward to the next time that we get a chance to speak with you.